Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this month's Senate meeting, and we have a very special presentation later on. The President will give his State of the Campus address. Before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. We have a quorum here, and after the President gives his speech, his remarks about State of Campus, we still need the senators to sit tight because we have action items that need your approval. One of the items will require 2/3 majority for approval, so therefore, senators, please stay around after the President gives his address. This meeting is now called to order. The first item on the agenda is approval of the October 7th, 2015 Senate minutes. Do I hear any corrections to the minutes as they were posted? Hearing none, I declare the minutes approved as submitted. The next item on the agenda is a report of the chair. The Staff Affairs Committee is currently accepting nominations for the prestigious Board of Regents Staff Awards. 8 individuals within the university system will be chosen to receive awards, 1 non-exempt and 1 exempt staff member for each of the first three categories, and 1 staff member, exempt or non-exempt, for both parts of the 4th award category. Recipients will receive a $1,000 award and system-wide recognition. Nomination packages must be submitted to the Senate office via email by Friday, November 20th. I encourage you to support your fellow staff colleagues and nominate a staff member for an award. Please contact the Senate office or visit the Senate website for more information. This is an excellent opportunity for our staff employees to be recognized for the amazing work that they do. From September 23rd to the 25th, and this was covered in my newsletter for the month of October, the Director of the Senate, Rika Montfort, and immediate past Chair of the Senate, Donald Webster, and I attended the CIC Faculty Governance Leadership Conference at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. The topics for the meeting, although mostly geared towards what Illinois was doing, were the role of academic leadership in college athletics, funding for higher education, disability resources and educational services, college affordability and accessibility, academic freedom and tenure, non-tenure track faculty, open access to research articles, faculty benefits and compensation, shared governance, interacting with the media, and an institutional roundtable that led to a proposal to sign a resolution to support the faculty of Iowa. Regarding the resolution, after several iterations, the following schools signed on to this resolution: Indiana, Northwestern, Purdue, Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska at Lincoln, Wisconsin at Madison, and Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Schools that did not sign on initially were Iowa, who was not at the conference, Maryland, Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State, and Rutgers. This did not rise to what I thought was a reason to have an emergency SEC meeting. Therefore, I did not sign on to it until I had a chance to talk with our Senate Executive Committee. At the SEC meeting on Friday, October 30th, the SEC voted to have me sign the resolution on behalf of the Senate Executive Committee. The resolution reads, in part, we call on the Board of Regents, State of Iowa, to adhere to the principles of shared university governance and to ethical behavior and transparency. This concludes the chair's report. The next item on the agenda is a special order by Ken Ullman, Chief Strategy Officer for Economic Development, entitled Our Fearless Idea, Transform College Park into a Top College Town. I would like to invite Ken to the stage to provide his presentation.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everybody doing? All right. Well, thank you very much for having me, Chairman Brown, to the University Senate. It is quite an honor to be here. I'm a proud graduate of this great university almost 20 years ago, met my wife here, and it is a great honor for me to have been asked by Dr. Lowe to come spearhead his vision, our shared vision, to create the greatest university town in America, and we're well on our way. Listen, I think it's very instructive that Dr. Lowe, from his first day here, and you're going to hear from him in just a moment, clearly recognized that we're a university on the move, Academics are increasing dramatically because of our brilliant students and faculty. Thank you to each and every one of you for what you do for this great university. Our culture of innovation and entrepreneurship that has been really enhanced over the last decade is on the move. But he recognized, as I think we all do, that we're not going to truly reach our potential unless we're also a great university town and a university community. So I thought I would just share with you a little bit about our progress. You can obviously see a lot of that progress with the tower cranes and things that you see up and down Baltimore Avenue and projects on campus. But I wanted to give it a little more context. And part of the context that I want to share with you is the real need to have not just an economic development strategy that lures companies here and better restaurants and shops and helps companies that are growing and coming out of our incubators grow and thrive here, but you have to also have a real estate strategy that works hand in hand with that economic development strategy. And I think we now are well on our way to having that. So bear with me, and I'll share with you some pretty pictures that tell the story. We know a little bit about ourselves. We are a top 20 national research public university on the march to top 10 and beyond. The yellow up and down, just to frame the geography, is Baltimore Avenue. I don't refer to it as Route 1 anymore. It is Baltimore Avenue. It's our main street. And the purple line that you see dotting throughout is, in fact, the purple line coming that will connect, I think many of you know, will connect New Carrollton through College Park to Silver Spring and to Bethesda. This is really important for a number of reasons. I think we would all agree that it's a wonderful thing to have a metro stop, but the metro stop is a little farther from the heart of campus as we'd like it to be. And so part of our strategy is to build out what we're calling our innovation district, which is anchored by the hotel, which you can see under construction. And as we redevelop down Paint Branch, to make the metro feel a lot closer. It's not very far, but frankly, it's not an enjoyable walk. It doesn't feel close. As we redevelop the innovation district, the metro will feel closer, and we will, in fact, enhance the connection to the research park as well. And then as the purple line comes in and will be delivered over the next 5 years, we have negotiated with the state of Maryland a fare-free zone so that anyone with a university ID will be able to jump on or off within the 5 stops on our property for free. So if you can now imagine, I'll see if this pointer works, the stop that is at the Marriott Conference Center at the University College site, the stop in front of Cole Fieldhouse, right outside of our door here, a stop next to Ritchie Coliseum and the Innovation District, then a connection to the metro, and then another stop in our research park. You can begin to imagine a time where, as a student or a member of the faculty, whether you're going down to intern or you've created a company that's located in the research park, you can now begin to imagine getting back and forth very easily. So let me keep going here. You have created an amazing culture of innovation and entrepreneurship on this campus. I don't need to tell you what you already know, but I think it's important to reflect on it. Business Journals, the umbrella organization in 2015, came up with the rankings. We are a top 10 public research university and proud of it. If you go to Startup Shell in the TAP building, there are now 50 student-led companies doing amazing things. To my point earlier about the need to make sure they can stay and grow and thrive here, one of those companies up in the top corner, M3D, I was very pleased when I served as county executive in Howard County to cut the ribbon on M3D's new facility in Howard County where they have almost 100 employees. They started in the Startup Shell, but the fact is they wanted to stay nearby. They couldn't find a product that really worked for them to grow their building, to grow their company. They manufacture 3D printers, by the way. They were the biggest Kickstarter success in history last April, raised $3.5 million in 30 days. We have the Hinman CEOs, a number of successful startups, including Java Zen. Students are in Hinman and also in the Startup Shell. Buy their coffee at all your local places. We know about Cupid's Cup. We just celebrated the 10th anniversary. BitCamp. BitCamp, we believe, may have been the second largest hackathon in the history of hackathons, 1,300 students in Cole Fieldhouse, and that's what got Brendan Arib to come back and inspired him to make his historic gift of $31 million. So these activities involving our students are really important to connect to our alumni base, as we've seen as well. New York Times article this past April talking about hackathons broadly, focused a lot about the University of Maryland, the culture that you have created here. I'm really excited about this, and I didn't have other pictures because it just happened this weekend, but we believe this was the largest, if not, definitely one of the largest, may have been the largest all-women hackathon to ever take place this past weekend at Ritchie Coliseum. We had homecoming. Everyone knows about the athletics. We now celebrate academics as well. So thank you to CMNS and engineering and everyone who participated here. Partnerships with with companies, with our startups. But now let me frame the greater College Park. And you all got a great email, an email with a great video that Brian Olmanshop put together in your inboxes last week. If you didn't open it, please watch the video. It sort of frames this. But we wanted to lay this out in a way that is very clear, because everyone's in their own sort of world, focused on your sort of area. Everyone's lives are really busy, and we see tower cranes, and we see things happening on campus or off campus. It's important, I think, that we focus on how they all come together to impact the creation of the great university town. And that is that the academic spaces we're creating on what we consider the main campus are important. Having a vibrant downtown community is important. And having this public-private research hub in our Innovation District and Research Park is also important. One is not more important than the other. You need them all to create the great university town. So dynamic academic spaces, just to reiterate, 4 great projects that you know, in many cases more than I about, over $500 million worth of funding, all led by an anchor gift from an alum. The Arib Center, for those of you who haven't seen this image, I'm really pleased that the university chose the location on what is now the parking lot adjacent to the main entrance of campus at Baltimore Avenue and Campus Drive, for us to make a statement that this is the sort of modern, tech-savvy university. It will sort of smack you in the face as you enter campus. It is a beautiful building, an overhang for student gatherings, and it's adjacent. This is a picture looking kind of from the M down Campus Drive towards Baltimore Avenue, and it's catty-corner to the hotel in the Innovation District. So really bringing energy down to the boulevard, if you will. Then Clark Hall, which will be the home of our biomedical engineering, our Fischel Center, under construction. We all know about St. John's Hall. I think you would all agree, bringing much-needed classrooms to our wonderful campus, about 2,000 seats of classrooms in innovative styles. And then, of course, the new Cole Fieldhouse, the Center for Human Performance, which will start construction later this year. The vibrant downtown community, pretty hard not to miss what's going on along Baltimore Avenue. Again, framing College Park. We all know about the landmark. I like showing this picture because this was the image, and I think it turned out pretty much like the image. And of course, the first Target Express. Great college towns, in my mind, have a mix of lots and lots of locally owned restaurants with their own local flavor, but a mix of national brands as well that offer things. You know, I sent my staff in to grab the picture of the fresh produce, because we all know that we don't exactly have lots of fresh produce options within walking distance of this campus. We're changing that. Target Express is an important piece. The top shows you that main block of Baltimore Avenue that we all know. That was Ratsey's. Nando's opened. That is a vacant storefront next door, which just signed a lease to open the second location of Fat Pete's Barbecue, which was ranked by the Washington Post the best barbecue in Washington. They're in Cleveland Park. There's now a banner up. That's a picture of their site in Cleveland Park. And then we all know about the importance of what I knew as the Cellar, the bar when I was here, the Barking Dog, which has been vacant, bringing arts and culture through the Clarice to Main Street. It's very important, and I'm so excited that we are essentially turning the university to some extent inside out and bringing the brilliant students and faculty in the arts to the boulevard. A very important statement. Again, if you haven't seen, this is the vision of what this will look like. We're very optimistic. It will hopefully open in time for next school year, next fall. This, again, was the space of the barbecue place. And then Nando's, just to show you the demand for great restaurants in College Park. They opened by donating the first few days to charity, all the revenue. They picked the campus pantry, the biggest opening of any restaurant they've ever had here in College Park. So speaking to the demand, I know many of you bemoaned the fact that the Little Tavern is now gone, but frankly, it sat there vacant in not a great state for a long time. So the university and the foundation did a smart thing by creating a pocket park. We'll have some food trucks as the rest of the block evolves into revitalization. We all know about the Knox boxes, 1,500 or so units from Toll Brothers. This is the Coons Ford site, a couple blocks north of Baltimore Avenue on the east side. This was vacant just a few months ago, was then demolished. This will be a Cambria Hotel. It's Choice's new brand, their sort of higher level brand, with some retail on the first floor. The importance of this hotel project is more than just the hotel, because David Hillman, who is building our main hotel, is building this primarily because he is now booking so many academic conferences, weddings, and events for 2017 in the conference center at the hotel that he was concerned that we don't have enough nice hotel rooms to support the conference business. So he went ahead and acquired this site to build a second hotel a few blocks up. So a great validation of our plan. Public-private research hub. Again, this sort of frames what we're trying to do. Make the Metro and the research park feel closer. Frankly, for many of us, the research park might as well be in Annapolis or in Bowie for the lack of connection to the university. We are making that connection by our economic development and real estate strategy in preparation for the Purple Line coming through that will enhance it as well. This is what the Innovation District looked like not that long ago. Just to remind you, the hotel, 4 great restaurants, led by local entrepreneurs like Mike Franklin from Franklin's, like Mike Isabella, who has Capnos in D.C. 4 great restaurants, Elizabeth Arden, Red Door Spa, 40,000 square feet of ballroom space, including 5,000 square feet at the penthouse level overlooking campus. So imagine now the ability to market and show off this beautiful campus to visitors. You all know about the construction site. I don't need to show you that. We are in process of activating 2 older buildings that will give us a sense of place, a sense of energy in the shorter term as we're building out the rest of the Innovation District. This hotel, again, is slated to open at the end of next year, the end of 2016. We hope that we have 2 projects ready to go for next fall. One is the old vacant auto repair shop on the back of the property, and the other is Building 6, which is now used as the HVAC maintenance shop, slated to move up to Severn Building, the old Washington Post plant. This is an image of what we're going to create here. It is going to be a food, arts, and music venue. It will have a shared kitchen for startup food-led companies. It will have a demo kitchen for events. It will have partnerships with Bonnie and her team over in Arts and Humanities, our folks in agriculture. This will be a great place for events and to celebrate sustainability and local food. And then in Building 6, this will be a co-working space that will allow a very flexible space for startups to grow and thrive. We've had a number of companies, by the way, who have said, we want to be here. We'll take 2 desks or we'll take 3 desks. There is now in the co-working world, people talk differently about what they want as they come join us here in College Park. And again, lastly, I just want to remind you about our research park. We have 4,000 brilliant people who go to work in our research park every day. Unfortunately, it is a 1980s style, have to get in your car to do anything research park. We are converting it into a 21st century mixed-use transit-oriented development research park. You can see the area around the Metro. This shows you just a picture of the NOAA Center. Again, these are some of the federal facilities that are in our research park. We've got great clusters around some of the areas that if you had to choose, the areas that are the most important for us to study and do research on for the future of our society, these would be some of those areas. This is an image WMATA, who runs the Metro system, has out to bid right now the surface parking lot at the Metro. Just as you've seen Metro stations all over the DC region develop in this way, we are now very optimistic that we will see this kind of a development. Bids are due into the Metro system at the end of next week. We're very optimistic that we will have a developer respond to this bid and convert it from what it looks like down in the right today, which you know that image along River Road facing Paint Branch, to something like this. Again, keeping in mind that the Purple Line will go right through here. On property that the university owns adjacent to the Metro, first residential and retail project in the research park. We've reached a deal with another alum, Ron Paul, who chairs or heads Eagle Bank in his development group. This is an image of the bridge that will connect our research park into the Riverdale Park Station development, which is anchored by Prince George's County's first Whole Foods. Many people don't know, but the county agreed to put in a bridge over the train tracks so that I now tell people we have a Whole Foods in our research park. This bridge will start construction very soon. This is also an image of Riverdale Park Station along Baltimore Avenue towards East West Highway, also anchored by a Hyatt House Hotel, so another hotel, and about 1,000 residential units, including, in my mind, some much-needed new townhomes. This is a picture of that Whole Foods. Every so often somebody says, is there still a Whole Foods coming to College Park or Riverdale Park? And I say, actually, the building's built. It'll open in a few months. So lastly, and I really will wrap up by this, I tend to get very excited, so I apologize. This is my dream job, by the way. We're doing something incredible here, so thank you. We are now able to lure companies to join us here. What we've realized is so many folks want to be here. They want to provide opportunities to our students. They want to provide joint research. They want to do joint research with many of you. So just in the last couple of months, we were able to get Immuta, a 15-person startup cybersecurity company, to choose us. Talk Local, a number of alums who launched Talk Local. They're both in 8400 Baltimore Avenue. We also have a great success story of Flexel. Flexel is in the TAP building in one of our incubators. About a dozen employees now. When I got here, they had CEO had a term sheet to move to Virginia with Dr. Lowe and Carlo's help. Well, first Dr. Lowe's help. He made it happen. Carlo then took great instruction and made it happen as well. Thank you, Carlo. The old Terrapin Traders, sorry you now have to go a little further for used furniture, but that facility is now a job creation center. Flexel is building out the front 11,000 square feet, adding 60 additional employees. And by the way, so this building will have signage that looks like this. This shot was taken yesterday. This is their build out of their space. It is a nano battery manufacturing facility, and it will provide joint research opportunities and, frankly, job and internship opportunities for our students. So again, our students have created great companies for years. Unfortunately, they haven't been here in College Park. We don't need all of them, but in order to create the real ecosystem that we're trying to create, we need at least some of them to want to join us here, and we're just getting started. So thank you all very much for the opportunity to present today, and thank you for what each and every one of you do. Thank you very much.
The item on the agenda is a special order by our President, Wallace Lowe. As he makes his way up here, I want to say a few words about him. Recently, President Lowe was elected to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, one of the nation's oldest and most prestigious honorary societies. Since its founding in 1780, the Academy membership has included more than 250 Nobel laureates and more than 60 Pulitzer Prize winners. Dr. Lowe was also recently recognized as one of the Washington Business Journal's Power 100, which named him amongst the most influential leaders in Washington business for the second consecutive year. It is with great pleasure that I welcome President Lowe to give the 2015 State of the Campus Address.
Thank you, Eddie.
Mic check. Mic check. Wallace Lowe. Wallace Lowe. We can't afford tuition, rent, food. Wallace Lowe. We demand higher wages. We want $9.55 at UMD.
Thank you very much. Your message has been heard. I look forward to having a conversation with you together with my staff. I appreciate your commitment and your passion for social justice. Thank you for being here today. And thank you, Willie. Thank you for your leadership of the Senate. And I really appreciate how you reached out to me at the beginning of your tenure to strengthen shared governance at this university. It is an important project. I look forward to working with you and with everyone from the University Senate on this important objective. And Rika, all these years as director, as you all know, she is an alumna of this university and a star of what's it? Gymkhana. And Professor Harlem, for all your years as a parliamentarian, thank you so much. I'm starting the 6th year of my presidency. And it seems as if it was only a year ago. I suppose that's what happens when you have your dream job. It is the best job in the country, at the best university in the world. That makes, well, the years seem shorter even though the days grow longer. So I'm honored and humbled to be your president. Barbara and I really want to thank you, Barbara and my wife, want to thank you for how you have received us. We are now very proud Marylanders and very proud Terps. I would like to comment on 3 issues today. Number 1, how far have we come since 2010? Since 2008, when we drafted this magnificent strategic plan, Transforming Maryland, Higher Expectations, in 2008. How far have we come in implementing that strategic plan? That's part 1, looking to the past. Part 2 is to sketch out very briefly what is the landscape of higher education today in terms of the sociology, the politics, and the economics that are transforming higher education right now. And part 3 is looking forward, moving ahead to, say, 2020. Higher expectations. How high? Equal to the best in the nation. That is the language of the legislation of the General Assembly when they designated the University of Maryland to be the flagship institution. Equal to the best, rising from top 20 to top 10. So what has happened over the past 5 years? Let me summarize it briefly with the first chart. I want to talk about the progress we have made together, faculty, staff, students, in terms of research, in terms of facilities, Greater College Park, which you've already heard from Ken, STEAM, and the move to the Big Ten and the CIC. Let me begin with the students. The students I have found in my 5 years here are incredibly talented. They're incredibly passionate and active, as you have just seen. I'm so proud of our students. You should know that the entering credentials of the freshman class this year are the highest ever in the history of this university, with a median 4.2 grade point average, with a median test score of 1310. 70% of the freshmen graduated in the top 10% of their class. When I look at those numbers, I must say, you know, I would never be admitted to this university today. I'm only grateful that the standards for hiring presidents are not as high as the standards for recruiting freshmen. But it's not just the input measures, it's also the output measures. Last spring, our graduation rate was 86%, the highest ever in the history of this university. When I came here, it was around 82%. But what makes me very proud is that this is an incredibly diverse university. We now have 42% or 44%, I forget, one of those 2 numbers. But it's the highest diversity ever in the history of this university. But more significant than that is the achievement gap. Underrepresented minorities last year graduated 79%. The gap is only 6%. When I came here, it was 12%. And the New York Times wrote an article about the incredible graduation rate given the size of the diversity of our student body. This could not have happened without your efforts. Without, for example, all the work that the faculty have done in terms of transforming the general education curriculum, in terms of expanding living learning communities, in terms of what the people, the faculty, and the provost have done in creating more research opportunities in the freshman year. But numbers don't tell the whole story. I probably meet over 1,000 students one-on-one every day, throughout the course of a year, meeting them on a daily basis. But let me just describe some of the students I've met just within the past, or talked with, or communicated with in the past 2 weeks, to capture, to just give you a sense, which you already know, why I am so proud, we are so proud of our students. So I got an email about 3 days ago from one of our students who was studying abroad. And what he cared about was to tell me what happened to this project that he began when he was a student. He rallied 30 other students to provide tutoring in math in Montgomery County. Right now, he's at Oxford, our second ever Rhodes Scholar. 3 years ago, or 3 years ago, a sophomore graduated, and he won the Do Good Challenge because he came up with this idea that all the food in the dormitories and in athletic venues, they have to be thrown out if they're not consumed. You cannot just save them and serve them the next day. So he gathered students, taught them the public health regulations, and they fed 26,000 people in homeless shelters in Baltimore and Washington. He went on to develop the Food Recovery Network, which today is in 140 universities. I was looking at an old NBC Today show where he's been interviewed on national television, and he was asked, so what is your vision? And he says, I want to carry the Food Recovery Network to all 6,000 colleges and universities in this country, because when we do that, we shall end hunger in America. People comment on this bow tie that I wear. That's because I'm a walking commercial for a product that a student makes in her dorm at Prince Frederick Hall. It is my habit during exam time, people are stressed out, so I go out and give cookies. So last December, I was giving out cookies at Prince Frederick Hall. This student walked up to me, a sophomore, and he said, President Loh, I'd like to give you a present, and she gave me this bow tie. I said, well, this is lovely, where did you buy it? I make them. I make them in my dorm. She's recruited 3 other students, and she now has a business. I tell you this story because you may have read about her about 2 weeks ago in the Washington Post, where she was interviewed about this, and she said that her goal is to make bow ties for every single college in the country. And I said to myself, this is next female Kevin Plank. Tomorrow, I'm privileged to go to the White House. And I'll tell you why I've been invited to the White House. Because back in 2006, there was a graduate from criminology, the #1 program in the nation, right here in College Park. And he ran track. He was a star in the mile and long distance races. Upon graduation, he joined the Army. He rose to the rank of captain. And when he was in Afghanistan, he threw himself and used his body to protect his people from a suicide bomber. As a result, only 4 of his comrades died, but many, many more, their lives were saved. He spent 3 years at Walter Reed Hospital, enduring 33 operations. Tomorrow at the White House, President Obama will confer upon this Terp the Medal of Honor. Tomorrow's a Veterans Day, and I have a further announcement to make about Captain Groberg. But that gives you a sense of the type of students that we have here. Graduate students, they are the core of a research university. And I think I saw Chuck Caramello. Chuck, I want to thank you for all that you and your staff have done in terms of implementing the 2008 Transforming Maryland. You have looked at all the graduate programs. You have reduced the size and strengthened them, smaller but better. I congratulate you also for developing these alternative paths for graduate students when they graduate to pursue alternative careers, and also your latest proposal, which you're beginning to implement for the professional doctoral degree. Graduate students are absolutely essential to the support and to their own education for research, innovation, and scholarship. Let me then turn to research and innovation. The faculty are the lifeblood of this institution. No university is better than the quality of its faculty. And at the research university, the faculty are known for their scholarship. I'm really proud of the fact that over the past several years, let me get my numbers correct. Over the past since 2010, we have had 8 colleagues elected to the National Academy of Science and of Engineering, 7 colleagues to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, 10 colleagues getting Guggenheim grants. We have incredible faculty, but let me just focus on one project, which I think is transformative for this university. When I came here in 2010, remember there was this big debate on whether we should merge with University of Maryland, Baltimore. For a whole variety of reasons, this did not happen. But what happened instead was a strategic partnership, has a terrible name, Empowering Maryland. It's a strategic partnership that has had the following effects. When I came here, there was only one joint faculty appointment between College Park and Baltimore. He had a half-time appointment in engineering, half-time in the medical school, and when he went to the bank to apply for a loan, he was turned down because he did not have a full-time job. 3 years later, that was 2012, 2015, there are now 70 joint appointments between our 2 institutions, among many colleges here and colleges over there. They have together, in the past 3 years, generated $80 million in research funding. They have created joint companies. We have combined our tech commercialization efforts. This is truly transformative, not just in the sciences and engineering, but also in the social sciences. For example, we even have the dean of the law school coming here to teach undergraduates because there's a living learning community on law and justice. That has been the impact of this relationship, and of course, we are working together in Shady Grove, developing IBBR, the Institute for Bioscience and Biotechnology Research, to enhance our presence around Route 270 with respect to biotechnology innovation. New facilities. I will simply mention, because you've already seen some of the pictures, we have either completed or under construction or in the pipeline approved for construction $1 billion worth of new construction of educational facilities, research facilities, and a couple of really fine residence halls where living learning communities are taking place. This is probably the most extensive activity in capital construction in recent memory. We cannot attract top faculty. We cannot attract top students and get the research funding without the necessary facilities. And why has it occurred? Partly the generosity of the legislature, and partly also because of our fundraising. Just to take an example, the Ed St. John's Teaching and Learning Center, where 9,000 students will come in and out every day. And it's a model for blended education. We have waited 28 years for that building. 28 years within the queue. Until somebody stepped forward, Edward St. John, wrote a big check, pew, go to the top of the queue. That is how capital projects get funded these days. We have to have the support of donors, and I want to thank University Relations and the deans for helping do the fundraising that makes these facilities possible. And of course, for a great research university, you have to have a great community. That is the greater College Park, which you have already heard from Ken Ullman. We are not just a fantastic STEM university. We are also a STEAM university. Look, science is important. It helps us understand the world. Technology, engineering is important because it helps us master the world. And that understanding and mastery enables the creation of wealth, economic development, the betterment of humankind. But it is not worth having a richer, more prosperous life unless that life is worth living. And that is where the humanities and the arts come in. They are disciplines of memory and imagination. They help us understand the past. They enable us to interpret the future and the meaning of our existence. The plan in 2008 called for significant enhancement by partnerships with the cultural organizations in the Greater Washington area. We have announced a partnership with the Phillips Collection. We have brought the arts management, the DeVos Institute to College Park, working together in partnership with those organizations. And I really want to express my appreciation to Dean Thornton Dill and the faculty in art, art history, performing arts for working together and making this possible. One of the things that we are working on, because the Phillips Collection has made available to us all of their art that is in storage. And as you know, 95% of all the art of all museums is in storage, to build an open storage facility right here along Baltimore Avenue. Prince George's County does not have a single art museum other than the art museums we have on campus. We are going to enhance the arts, and finally, the Big Ten and the CIC. Very quickly, I will say this. If there is one moment which will remain seared in my memory, where I actually cried at night, when I had to sit down on that day in November, after meeting our student athletes and telling them that their dreams and hopes will disappear because we will slash 7 teams. I was never told. Kevin Anderson, the athletic director, was never told that within a few months of our arrival, the entire athletic enterprise might fail. The reason is because it had been losing money for several years. Technically, it was not insolvent because it was drawing from reserves. But a few months after our arrival, the reserves were empty. There was nothing in the kitty. There's only 2 things you can do. Raise more money, which you cannot do overnight, or you cut your expenses. We cut 7 teams. That led us to the move to the Big Ten. It was super confidential. It had to be. All I can tell you is, I cannot tell you how much we got. I can tell you that negotiation into the Big Ten is on an individual basis. It's not a flat sum. Sports Illustrated projected, and this is their projection. We have remained silent on whether or not it's accurate, but they projected that the University of Maryland will receive $100 million over and above what they would have received if it stayed in the ACC. All I have said are 2 things. We have ensured the sustainability of Maryland athletics for at least the next 50 years. And number 2, and I said this publicly on national television, some of that money will be reallocated to academic purposes. But even more important than that is the partnership with the CIC. The super university consisting of very similar flagship universities with the exception of Northwestern, which is private. I will simply say that all of our missions are now done together. Barbara Gill was telling me that when she would go to California, she might have a couple hundred students show up. Now she interviews prospective students as part of all the other 13 institutions in the Big Ten, and she gets a couple thousand students coming up to our desk. We had 1,500 students from throughout the Big Ten come to College Park, study here in the summer last summer, because they were having internships in Washington, D.C. Our students are now taking courses and going on study abroad programs through the CIC, paying the same tuition as they pay here. About 60 to 70% of all of our academic department heads have gone through their professional development training conducted by CIC. None of this was available before in our previous conference, or for that matter, in any other conference in the country. This is what a partnership with similar AAU public research universities results for us. So this is what has happened. Let me now turn to the next slide to show, to speak very candidly, about the economics of higher education and the impact on our budget. The strategic plan Transforming Maryland, Higher Expectations, was published in 2008, approved by the Senate in May of 2008. And what happened between 2008 and 2010 when I came? The Great Recession. And I was just reading this book by Ben Bernanke called The Courage to Act. Just came out about a month ago. And I was stunned because if what he is saying is accurate, what the Federal Reserve did and what the federal government did is they averted a catastrophe worse than the Great Depression. But in any event, we all know that unemployment soared to 10%, that debts grew dramatically, that the federal and the state government had enormous deficits. Without going through all of that, what we do know is this. Between 2008 and 2015, our budget was cut by $49 million. These are permanent cuts on a continuing basis. In addition to these permanent cuts, we also had $60 million of one-time cuts, meaning in theory they will restore it the next year. Last February 2015, a few months ago, when I announced a furlough for people earning above a certain amount, I had no choice because last year, the current year, our one-time cut was $18 million. So what's the impact? And I think you know the impact. You feel the impact. Furloughs. We had hiring freezes. We had suspension of construction. We had cutbacks in travel. And in terms of recurrent cuts, you have gone through 5 years of no salary increases at all. And some years when there are cost of living increases, but no merit increases. That is the impact of the recurrent cuts. And you all are suffering under heavier workloads because empty positions have disappeared and costs have not risen to maintain basic operations in your departments, whether academic or administrative. That is the situation, but let's explore it a little bit further. Next slide. I think it is important to know that this does not begin in 2008. I think it's important to take a historical perspective. And I just chose 1990 because that was the time when Britt Kirwan was president. But 1990 to 2015, that's 25 years. And notice what has been happening slowly, incrementally. Perhaps people have not even paid attention to this or noticed it. Look in 1990. What was the state investment as a percentage of our budget? It was 52%. Today, it is down to 32%. Now, to put this in perspective, I was talking to the Chancellor of the University of Colorado in Boulder, and he said, Wallace, you should be thankful to your legislature. They are still funding 1/3 of your budget. Because here in Colorado, it's down to 8%. Or as he likes to put it, for Colorado, not for Maryland, we were state-supported, then we became state-assisted, and now we're almost basically state-located. What the Great Recession did was seem to accelerate and exacerbate a trend that began even before 1990. I believe it began around 1985. Next slide. Now, one of the biggest issues today is college affordability. Just as for the current administration, the biggest issue for the past 7-8 years was affordable health care. I believe that for the next administration, regardless who gets elected, that's going to be affordable college for reasons that you all know. But look what the share was of the state back in 1990 when Britt was president. The state picked up 70% of the cost of tuition, 70%. And around 2013, 2014, during my presidency, it flipped. Notice that Students back in the days of Britt Kerwin, they were paying 30% of the cost of tuition. Today, they're paying 53%. Now, there are many reasons why tuition is going up, but I submit to you that a major reason is the gradual increasing decline in state investment in public higher education, including tuition. There is, however, the next slide. Hey, I hate to be wonkish and show you a slide like this, but I am so proud of this because this reflects the good work of the faculty and staff here. And I show this all the time to people in Annapolis. They want us to increase the number of graduates. That helps enhance the economy, create jobs, increase wealth. Look, since 2002 now, going all the way back to 2002 to the present, we have increased the number of degrees by 39%. If you combine undergraduate degrees and graduate degrees. 39% increase in the number of degrees that we produce today compared to 2002. Now here is the more interesting figure. Look at the red line. That is the cost per degree, meaning state funding, tuition. Funding per degree declined by 21%. This is your classic economist definition of efficiency. You produce more of a good, a graduate, at a lower cost per good. But look further. Look at the green line. State support for instruction declined by 40% in terms of producing degrees. I think we need to pat ourselves on the back. This incredible efficiency of this university producing degrees is because of the hard work of the faculty and staff, and especially despite all the cuts that we've been getting. That's the story I tell Annapolis. We are efficient, we are effective, we are serving the needs of the state as efficiently as possible. Next slide. All right. So we talked about the Great Recession. We're up to 2010 when I came. Now we're at 2015. Higher expectations. How high? Equal to the best. Rise from top 20 to top 10. So what's the landscape going forward? You know, that great American philosopher, Yogi Berra, he said, making predictions is difficult, especially about the future. I am going to make a fearless prediction. It's not a prediction. All thoughtful analysts, all thoughtful scholars on this subject agree. We are in what is called the new normal, or what I like to call the reset era in higher education. The reset era means that state appropriations, I think in the coming years, there is not going to be significant cuts, but there's not going to be significant increases either. I'm sorry to say this, but if you probably read this a week ago, Governor Hogan has said he expects to have another round of small cuts for all state agencies and no salary increases. Why? Because the state still faces a $355 million structural deficit. But to look at the upside, that is progress, because a few years ago, it was a $1.7 billion structural deficit of the state of Maryland, meaning that you could not align expenditures and revenues, which is exactly what happened with us with athletics upon arrival. So if that's the environment, things are getting better, but we're not totally out of the deep hole of the Great Recession. I think it is a prudent estimate that we will not have huge cuts, but will not have huge increases either. It'll be a flat budget, relatively speaking. Secondly, for political reasons, tuition is constrained. Other schools made dramatic increases. The University of California system increased tuition by 38% during the Great Recession. We owe it to Governor O'Malley that he froze tuition for 5 years. He made it possible to expand educational opportunity to our students. but it also affects the excellence of this institution because excellence is not free. So if tuition is not a source of major revenue, if state appropriations is not a source of major revenue, but they will still be sources of revenue. And I commit to you that I will fight in the legislature for competitive salaries. We cannot have a top university, we cannot retain top faculty unless we provide competitive salaries. And of course, we need to strengthen departmental operations. But how to do it in this new normal, in this era of the reset of higher education? Going forward, it's really quite simple. You have to rely on non-state revenues. You have to diversify your revenue streams. That's number one. And number two, you have to relook at your processes. Make them faster, make them better, make them more efficient. And hopefully you have some savings, and from those savings you reinvest in the core missions of this university. So let me briefly mention what are the things that are going on. This has been going on now for about 4 months, 5 months. We put together the leadership of the provost. There are about 80 to 90 faculty, staff, and students working in various groups. So I'm just going to summarize the trip of what they've done so far. No decisions have been made. No actions have been taken. There will be extensive consultations with the faculty, with the Senate, with the deans, with everybody before things are implemented. But let me give you a portrait of where this is going. Take a look at non-state revenues. What does that mean? Number one, they're in no particular order. One would be philanthropy. I want to thank, again, University Relations, Peter Weiler, our Vice President for University Relations. We completed the $1 billion campaign in 2012. We then hired more people. We spent about, I don't know how much, $4, $5, $6 million. What did we get for that additional expenditure of frontline fundraisers? Well, in 2013, up to then, the most we have ever raised in 1 year is $100 million. In 2013, it climbed to $113 million. 2014, it climbed to $140 million. Last year, $200 million. Where are all these buildings coming from? Donations. Where is all the scholarships the students are getting from? Donations. The professorships that we have, donations. Academic programs are enhancements, donations. We have to increase fundraising beyond $200 million per year. That's one source. Second source, we need to increase research. We have the highest research funding on record, $550 million. We have to work harder. We have to, and I want to thank the people in the Division of Research. I want to thank the 130 faculty members who were present for the Research Leaders Luncheon. It was to thank them for all their work and for everybody who's engaged in getting grants. But we need to tap into restricted research and proprietary research. We believe there's an additional $20 to $30 million from research. Philanthropy, expanding research. Number three, partnerships. Partnering not only with other universities like Baltimore, partnering with industry. Northrop Grumman gave us $1 million 2 years ago. They gave us another $1.5 million for our living learning communities in cybersecurity. Siemens gave us a huge gift in kind of software for advanced manufacturing, and so forth. Partnerships with the private sector, partnerships with government. I can tell you that right now, the University of Maryland and some other institutions are working on a proposal for an FFRDC, Federally Funded Research Development Center, of $900 million over a 10-year period. That's $100 million a year. We are aiming high. Those are the kinds of additional resources we need to generate. Enrollment increases. In-state is approximately 23%. We're allowed to go up to 30%. We are working on a plan to increase out-of-state enrollment and international enrollment. We're not going to go all the way up to the allowed 30%, but we go from 23% to some amount below the allowed 30%. No, 24, 25, 26%. Our estimates are that one can generate approximately $10 million a year. Now, these are only numbers, but think what $10 million means. $10 million means approximately, oh, can I do this math in my head? At $250,000 per faculty member for fringe benefits, space, startup costs, 10 million divided by, that is 40, thank you. I was never good at math. 40 faculty positions. $20 million means 2,000 full tuition scholarships. Think of it in those terms. So what more can we do? We can have entrepreneurial education programs. There is one college that shall remain nameless, but they generate $40 million a year in market-driven tuition revenue, mostly from graduate programs. Another college generates $10 million a year. We want to incentivize other colleges to become entrepreneurial in offering programs. And you will be able to keep the revenue you generate, subject to, of course, to a tax by the central administration. And that tax is used to help other colleges that don't have that ability to generate that kind of entrepreneurial revenue from academic programs. So those are some examples of expanding revenue sources. And then let me just mention administrative processes. I have heard so many complaints about how long it takes to hire people, how long it takes to purchase anything, how long it takes to get technical equipment fixed. We are committed to re-examining our administrative processes so they serve people better, faculty and staff better, they serve them faster, and they serve them more cheaply. So let me just, and by the way, we have to work together. This is not the, quote, the fault of people in those divisions. They are also stressed. They have not had access to the technology that enables them to modernize their processes. And by the way, this is not going to take overnight. When you redesign processes, it takes time. But let me give you an example. Let me give you just two examples. One example is IT. We have 40 email systems on this campus. If we had, and I know there are people who insist on having their own email system, but if we can have just one email system, that will reduce our expenses on an ongoing basis by $1 million. Again, $1 million is not a lot of money, but $1 million equates to 5 faculty positions. $1 million equates to 100 full tuition scholarships. Procurement. We spend $400 million a year in buying things. If we can, and we have consultants assisting us, if we can 10% savings and also improve processes so they're faster, they're better, 10% of 400 million is 40 million. Now, a lot of these purchases occur in departments. So for example, you have a department, you spend $100 million a year buying things. If you use master contracts, for example, and you can save 10%, that's $10,000 you can reinvest in your departmental operations. The more general point is there will be an implementation group, they will do a deep dive, they will come up with actual proposals, these will be vetted before we implement them. Next slide. With Jenga? All right, some of you nod, some of you don't, not familiar. But I just discovered this toy yesterday. And I thought this was a metaphor for my entire State of the Campus address. See, just as our goal is to rise from the top 20 to the top 10. But in this game, the only way to keep on rising is by taking blocks from the bottom and putting them on top. Now, in academic circles, that may be called reallocation. But notice, if you take too much from the bottom, the whole infrastructure gets weakened and the tower tops. I think this is a metaphor for how we need to approach. We want to keep building it higher, but we got to be very careful about supporting the infrastructure. And yet we will take out some blocks and add them to the top. But we got to be very careful in how we do it. Now, there is one way in which this toy is not a metaphor for real life, budgeting on higher education. And that is, this toy does not allow for additional blocks. We do have additional blocks. Those additional blocks are philanthropy, partnerships, savings, going for some targeted enhancements from the legislature, some limited targeted tuition. We can also add blocks to the top. Is there another slide? Or is that the last one? Oh, yes. So what are the priorities going forward? And I will wrap it up with this. Here are the priorities that I'm proposing between now and 2020. For students, they are our future. They are why we exist. Affordability. We will raise $200 million in endowed funds to provide financial aid for students. You take the proceeds of that $200 million, added to the approximately $48 million that we now give, plus available federal grants, we will be able to make a flagship education very affordable to the students of Maryland. Number two, what is the next biggest concern of students that I hear all the time from students and their parents? Jobs, jobs, jobs. We have a plan prepared by Career Services, a comprehensive plan from freshman to senior year of career readiness, of courses, of training programs, culminating in an internship and a paid internship if they want it. Unless, of course, it's being paid by an employer, they will not get double pay. And the metrics are 95% placement rate, currently it's at 85%. And number two, even more interesting, the metric of 95% placement in jobs related to your major. We offer an affordable education, excellent education in terms of expanding everything we're doing, living, learning communities, independent research, and so forth, and career readiness. We will be inundated with some of the best, most talented students in the country. Faculty and staff, I will advocate forcefully, day in and day out, for competitive compensation. We cannot rise, we cannot remain a top institution without competitive salaries. But of course, that's a decision of the legislature, and we are only 20% or 24% of the entire workforce of the state. They have never treated faculty and staff at universities separately from other state employees. But one thing I can promise you, we will set up a salary compression fund. We've been hiring new faculty at market rates. We have also been providing for retention offers. And consequently, there is inequity. We will set up a fund, and over the next 3 or 4 years, we will aim for salary equity. And support for departmental operations, I think I've already touched upon it. Let me be perfectly honest. Donors do not give money for day-to-day operations. The state does not give money for day-to-day operations. If we don't get enhancements for the state, it will be from savings, from modernizing administrative processes, which I've committed to you will be reinvested in your respective departments. Finally, targeted research investments. We are still working on it. The provost is working with the deans. Our goal is to set aside, let me get these numbers straight, $55 million, a research excellence fund, $55 million to hire approximately 35 tenure track professors and 75 professional faculty, postdocs, other staff, to work with our tenure track faculty. But it will not be done across the board. These will be invested in certain selected areas which are yet to be determined. But these are examples of the kinds of areas that the deans have been discussing with the provost and has been vetted already with a number of faculty groups. In no particular order, global climate change. There are two conditions. We build on existing strengths, and number two, it addresses some of the defining issues of the day. Global climate change is certainly one of those. It is not just about science. As Pope Francis said when he came here, it is a moral issue. When you have extreme drought, extreme flooding, vast migrations of people because of climate change, this involves not just science, public policy, it involves ethics, it involves sociology, it involves the whole campus in dealing with, addressing, solving climate change. And we are very strong in that area already. Number two, again, in no particular order, big data and cybersecurity. Vast amounts of data that are being collected now. If they are analyzed, if we apply new analytical processes, we can discover new patterns. But we have to protect that data, hence cybersecurity. And we are already very strong in that area. As you know, we just opened one of the biggest and most powerful supercomputers, Blue Crab, jointly with Johns Hopkins only, a month or 2 months ago. Number three, brain and behavior, specifically focusing on behavioral neuroscience. These are all across the whole campus, and then there are other ones that are also of an interdisciplinary nature, but involving perhaps a smaller group of colleges. And high on that list is the contemporary African American experience in light of our circumstances today. So those are some of the potential areas. They will be fleshed out, but we are making the commitment of investing $55 million in these tight times in research excellence. Let me just conclude with this. As I was preparing my thoughts for this afternoon and saying, we have made enormous progress because of your involvement, your participation, your sweat and tears during this very difficult period of the Great Recession and its aftermath. We are rising as a top 20. How high are we going to rise? Equal to the best, from top 20 to top 10. So the words that occurred to me as I was thinking about this was what Abraham Lincoln said when he signed the Morrill Act, creating a whole new kind of a university, the land-grant university, that focused on two things. One is expanding access for students, and number two, applying knowledge to make a difference and improving the economy. Knowledge in those days was, of course, improving agriculture. But he wrote in language that only Abraham Lincoln could write. He wrote, "The dogmas of the quiet past are insufficient. We are insufficient for the stormy present. We must rise to the occasion. Because our situation is new, we must think anew." I invite us all to think anew. Because we are in this new normal, let us jointly think anew. Let us work together to come up with new ways to move this institution from a top 20 to top 10. It took about 20 years for this university to move from a safety school to a top 10 public research university. This is a plan of priorities between now and 2020, 5 years. And then I'm reminded of what the poet, Robert Browning said. If your reach does not exceed your grasp, what are the heavens for? I don't believe that there are unrealistic dreams, unrealistic goals. There may be unrealistic timelines. But that is our goal. And I will conclude by reminding us, we are all Terps. And how does that Terp advance one step at a time, sticking its neck out, thinking big, aiming high, taking risks. That is a Terp attitude. We are all Terps. We will be equal to the best. Thank you very much.